Hello, everybody. Welcome to this edition of Shelbyville Now Sports Live. Today, we're here to talk about Bedford County High School football. Last night, we had all four teams in action, and of course, the big game was the Battle of Bedford. We'll talk about that at the end of our coverage here for Bedford County. But let's take a look at Webb and Grace Christian. Kenny, have you heard anything from that? I know we got a final score, but did you hear anything about it? Or?
I did not hear, but way I see, Grace Christian's a pretty good team.
Yeah, they are.
They're 5-1, and they've been winning pretty handily. So
yeah,
that's up in Franklin, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's the Franklin Grace Christian. That big showdown will be Grace Christian and Friendship Christian. But I don't know. I know the score was 37-7. But I don't know anything about the outcome of it.
Yeah, it looks like that good of a team. Webb still they're low on numbers. You know that their depth has got to hurt them. But tough night for Webb. Let's move over to Shelbyville and Kenwood. Shelbyville traveled to Clarksville to play Kenwood. Final score of the game, Kenwood beat us at the end 27-24. And I really thought that we had that game at halftime. I felt good about it. And in the third quarter, I felt good about it. I don't know exactly. I was trying to watch it. I didn't go to the game, but the video was terrible. It was awful. You couldn't see it. And I listened to it on the radio some, but Shelbyville let one slip through their hands.
17-7 there, and you thought Shelbyville was in good shape. And then at the end, Kenwood pulls it out, and that was only Kenwood's second one of the year.
I think Kenwood started out, from what I saw, they was trying to throw the ball deep just about every play. And could hit on it. We had some interceptions. They had some discipline issues. They had late hits. They had holding. I don't know how many holding calls there were on both teams, but Kenwood stayed in the hole. They'd be second and 30. Third and 30. It'd be terrible. But at the end, it seemed like Kenwood started going and running the ball, getting on the edge with us a little bit on the option on this little pitch out. And they got some speed on that team. They got some talent on that team. So I'm surprised that they're 2-4 now. But Shelbyville moves to 0-5. 5 games left on the schedule. 3 of those are region games. So, Kenny, you're a coach. What do you tell your team after going 0-5? Should have won that game last night. Now, what do you tell your team?
We just got to keep battling. It's going to be a tough one this week because Lebanon's coming into town.
Yeah.
But we still got a chance to make the playoffs. We can't take what's happened to us in Puri.
Yeah.
We got to get better because we've still got an opportunity to make the playoffs.
Right.
You know, we've got over half. More than half of our region competition left. We just got to keep getting better and just hang in there.
I understood the coach last night. I listened to this on the pregame on the radio with Neil, and he said that if they won either the Warren County or the Cookeville game, they're in the playoffs.
Yeah.
They have to win one of those two.
Yeah. Well, that very well could be the fact because it all depends on the outcome, but just say if they beat Cookeville and them and Cookeville are both the 4th place team, say Cookeville beat Warren County.
Right.
And but if all 3 of those teams beat each other, then that's different. But if he
then it would go to overall record,
then it would go overall.
And we would not be in there that way.
What he's saying is by the head-to-head, he could be over top of it.
And Warren County last night, folks, 21-18, they lost to Siegel, and Siegel's been playing pretty good. So Warren County's not a walkover.
I don't think there's any walkover.
I don't either.
Where we're at right now. I just what I saw that game, I felt like we had the athletes on that field that could have definitely beat Kenwood. All right.
Definitely.
It seemed like we had a hard time getting the ball in space to our playmakers. We were trapped in the tackles all the time with that read play, that read option, where Jake can pull the ball out and carry it, and it seemed like we were trapped right in the tackles. They had a pretty good sized line, and we wouldn't get enough push to get our guys to the next level. Now he broke a couple, Rocky broke a couple runs, He got chased down one time. I thought he's the fastest player on the team. They had some speed.
They did have speed.
But we never got the ball out on the perimeter to get our guys in space. And that should be our strong suit, but we could never do it.
Mhm.
We just couldn't do that for some reason.
No, Lebanon's coming up next week, and of course they had dropped 2 in a row. And the last night they beat Lincoln County 42-0. I know Lincoln County's not that good, but
Right.
42-0. Lebanon's that's the next one. That's going to be tough.
Yeah, they come to us.
They come-
At least it
that's
is a
this
home
week.
game. Yeah. We'll have a band and we'll have cheerleaders.
Yep.
So that'll be that and hopefully have some people come out.
Right.
That's what we need right
We
now
need to-
more than
need to
anything.
support these.
Yes.
I'm telling you, there's nothing. I've been there as a coach and as a player, and you're busting your tail trying to do everything you really got to have that support.
You know, they could come out, and if they were to upset Lebanon, it could turn the rest of the year around
Sure.
for them. I mean, they need a boost of confidence, I think, more than anything right now. Everybody get out
Definitely.
Friday night and go out to Shelbyville Central and support those guys.
One more I was going to mention is Smyrna and Riverdale, 15-5 is what I saw the coach tell you.
Yeah, I saw
15-5.
Well, you don't know. They may have took
Safety and field goal.
safety at the end of the game just to run. You
Yeah.
don't know, or because you know what kind of athlete Smyrna's got. I mean, Riverdale's got. Smyrna's supposed to have a linebacker that's for real. Somebody's telling me he's a 4-star for real, but that's the William brothers at Smyrna, great friends of mine, and just like my
They're
brothers.
undefeated, aren't they?
I think they've lost one.
They lost
game.
one.
Mhm.
Well, when I saw that score, first thing I did, I thought that's got to be soccer or
That's exactly- I'm
volleyball or
going back
something.
to
I
that.
kept,
I
I
clicked
said,
on
that's
soccer.
5. What's that about? Last night, Kenny, I was listening on the radio, and it sounded like we went for 2. Cascade went for 2 a bunch. Is that what happened? What
They
happened
did.
there? Did we not have a kicker? Or
They're struggling in the extra.
so they
point
just went for 2
So they
every
just
time?
went for it.
Okay, did community have a well, you don't know. They never get the chance, the opportunity. Okay. That's one thing that I think Central has struggled with in the punting department, the kick game. That special teams means a lot, doesn't it, Kenny? When you get down in the
it's
tight
third
game. Yeah.
Close ball games. That's. I've lost games. My first year at Cascade, we lost a couple of games just because we didn't have a kicker. My brother could coach kickers,
Right.
and never more.
Yeah.
That's what we said, never more.
Yeah.
So we found somebody, and hey, Bill, if that's all you do is kick, just come
So be it.
practice 2 days a week.
Right?
Come and make sure you're there at the game on Friday. But we had a kicker from there on.
But even with that, the
You
long
gotta
snapper
have
is
one.
very important too.
Gotta
You got to
have
be
a
able to
good
get
long snapper.
a good long snapper, someone who can set the ball. I mean, there's 3 things involved here.
Nobody, that part of the game, nobody even knows they're there until something happens
Goes wrong.
and it's negative.
Yeah.
And that's the
Yeah.
only time they know that
Right.
Kenny Parker's the long snapper.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
Pointing that out. All right. So Cascade came out on top of community in the Battle of Bedford. Tell us about it, Kenny. You were down on the field.
I was. Community went into the game without their 2 best players, their quarterback, the Grooms, and Micah Fleming. And you could tell they really struggled with that. But take anything away from Cascade, Cascade played for the first time this year. I thought Cascade was more athletic, better, and when they were even, they were leaving last night, so they jumped out pretty quick and just played really had no outstanding players, just played well together. And the one drawback, and talking with Coach Tyre at the end of the game, and as an old coach and on the sidelines running the chains, I started barking a little bit. We had way too many penalties early in the game in the first half, and had a halftime score 38. I believe it was 38-0 going in half. And coach said he just peeled the paint off the walls because when they went in at halftime, Matt Cascade had 83 yards of penalties, and community had -3 yards total offense.
Wow.
And I said, yeah, that's what you got to. Penalties like that will get you in close games. You've got to have the discipline. But, I thought Cascade was the better team. You could tell that community had to move, I guess, a good athlete to quarterback, which means that they were 2 less athletes, and they like to throw the ball. They're going to try to throw the ball and hit you on the outsides. Cascade changed their defense because of it, which I thought was a great move. Got athletes on the field with few linemen up front, pushed the pocket, but they controlled the game. And I was really, you got a running clock in the second half. But what really impressed me, and I told Coach last night, is a few of these young kids. He had some freshmen. He had and I asked him, I said, who's that number 44? And look at it, his name is Kane Harden. He's a freshman. He's playing linebacker, and he's sitting there pointing to everybody, telling everybody what's going to happen, and the ball's going to go here. And he's just sitting there pointing, and I'm thinking, wow, now, what he said was good, but when he got there, when somebody's doing that, I was but that didn't happen. But it will. But somebody, and then they had an offensive lineman, big old brute of a boy, the 79 Joseph Bailey. They're gonna be all right. I was really impressed with the way the younger kids came on the field. I don't know how much JV, how much they've gotten to play, but I was impressed with the younger guys, and they were playing against communities guys.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, that gets them a little playing time, gets them some game time experience, and
Cascade, they spread the ball. They had 5 or 6 guys score touchdowns.
How much rushing yardage did they have? Did you get
I didn't, holding the box.
Right.
You don't get stats.
But they primarily ran that whole game.
They ran, but they threw. I think the quarterback Dixon Zamian threw a couple of touchdown passes.
Okay.
But broke some long runs. Chance Brown had a long run. Sawyer Lovern had a long run. Of course, the Huey kid, number 15, he had his game. He's a player, and Dixon had a good game. So, but their defense swarmed to the ball. I mean, they played his number's 9, Blake Olive.
Okay.
He's a player.
Gotcha.
He does it. And Coach Tyre said they moved him from outside linebacker to inside linebacker because when he was an outside linebacker, some people would run away from it. Now he's inside. He can go to both sides. And I was really impressed with Cascade's 3 linebackers: Jacob Cagle, Taylor Dow, and they played pretty well.
Okay, sounds like they had an all-around good game. Of course, with a victory of 46-0, it's hard to pick out anything bad.
But you could tell that with the sidelines community. I mean, when you go into a game and you don't have your bell cows, but take nothing away from Cascade, they never punted. So
that's a good night.
That's a good night.
How was the crowd last night, Kenny?
Apparently it's a homecoming game, so I didn't look behind me, but I know community had a pretty good crowd. Cascade's crowd was pretty good, and it being the only game in the county, I thought it was thought it was well attended.
Well, another year of the Battle of Bedford is wound down, and Cascade comes away with a win. And I guess now we need maybe look at some scores from around the area. But before I do, I just got to ask you something, Kenny. What's up with the Gallatin gear you got on this morning?
Well, my son,
Gallatin gear.
at 1:15 today, he told me, I asked him what time we were flying out. 1:15 today, he flies to Tampa.
Okay.
So this is
That's not Gallatin.
that's
then.
not Gallatin.
Oh,
That's
okay.
my Green Bay
Okay.
stuff.
All right.
But,
Okay.
he's excited. He was telling me, of course, my son's working for the Green Bay Packers now, and
Yeah.
he was telling me how interesting his week was
I
last
bet.
week. He is finally getting to know some of them, and Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love, the quarterbacks. He was running some kind of little. They asked him to run some routes,
Oh
so
boy.
they was calling some stuff, and he'd run, and then he said, "Daddy, I was catching everything." He said, "Man," he said, and Rodgers said, "Oh boy, Aaron, yeah, that's good." He said, I couldn't drop. He said, I had them receiver gloves on. And he said, I just got the feeling so good. I caught one. I put a little juke move on it. And he said, everybody in there just started laughing. But having a big time, going to Tampa Bay this week,
Right.
going to London next week to play the Giants.
Okay.
So
Well, that sounds fun right there. I
Yeah.
know he's enjoying doing that.
he is a couple of weeks. My wife and I, we're gonna go up and watch them play the Jets. So she's missing her son.
I just wanted to clear all this up because I didn't want anybody to look on here and see that G and think that we get rumors started. You was going to go start coaching at Gallatin or something up there.
Yeah.
You know.
Parker's coaching days. I don't think anybody want him. So,
I don't know. I think there's some teams around that could probably use your assistance, but we won't go there. All right. Let's talk about. We got a lot of scores here to go over. Keedy, what all you got? What about the Cascade?
the big game for Cascade is next week. They play
Right.
Chapel Hill. That'll be a big game. Chapel Hill's both of them go in with a 3-3 record. Chapel Hill Forest lost a close ball game to Marion County last night, 42-35. So Cascade goes to Forest next week, and that's going to be a big ball game for both sides for region.
That puts them kind of in the middle of the region there,
Well,
and a leg up.
Here's what this is Parkerism. Cascade and Forest are both playing for third place.
Yeah.
Everybody's playing for third place in that region because hands down, Richland and
Yeah.
Mount Pleasant going to be 1 and 2. So you're playing for third place. You know you're going to have to go on the road, and you'd probably rather go on the road and play somebody's second place team than their number one team. But you know they've got Forest next week, which is a winnable game if they play well. You like we said last week, Cascade lost 3 games and until Mount Pleasant got beat by Columbia last night, but Mount Pleasant's lost 1 game and Moore County's lost 1 game.
Yeah, Huntland hadn't lost any.
No, Richland.
I keep messing that up.
They're still undefeated.
I need to buy me a mount, don't I? What else? What else do we have?
Lewis County beat Loretta, which is another region game for them. Beat Loretta 28-17, and Summertown won big over Ezel Harding 30-7. Talking to Coach Grooms and some of the guys last night at Community, they're trying to get well, and their big game, and they told me, he said, our big game is our last game of the season when we play Grundy County.
Yeah.
Our big game, and that's what I hope they're not looking by, because they've still got Cannon County, which is a region game, and they've got Grundy County. So they win those 2 games. They're sort of like Cascade. They could be third place.
Yeah. Well, Cascade plays Summertown next week.
No, that's the last game. They play. Cascade plays Forest next week.
Forest next week.
Summertown's their last game.
Okay, and Summer. Okay, so it could come down to that last game.
Very, very. Most doubt.
Yeah, that's what I had my note down here, that's going to be a big game for Cascade. So Grundy is the big game for Community.
Grundy's the big game for
and they got Sequatchie County next week, right? So
yes.
I think that's right. And
Sequatchie
is a good team.
Sequatchie's good. They got beat by Bledsoe County last night, which Moore County beat Bledsoe County.
Right.
So if you go to looking at that, but Bledsoe beat them 27-21, and Both of those teams are 4-2 right now, but Sequatchie's pretty good, the way I understand.
Well, Moore County beat Wayne County last night, and Wayne County's a good team.
Correct.
They slipped. They were 4-1 going into that game.
Mhm.
The final score of that one was 34-25. So Moore County set at 5-1 now.
Moore County's
So,
pretty good,
they're
and,
good,
like
yeah.
I said, they're a year away. They're a year away.
And they're that.
One
Still
more
got a
interesting
good
score was toward Tullahoma. The only game they won is the Shelbyville game because
I know.
they got pounded by Pearl Cone last night, 45-0. I know Pearl Cone is loaded.
Yeah, you go. Yeah.
My understanding is they've got 3 or 4 kids that may be playing Southeastern Conference football on Pearl Cone. Pearl's pretty good.
Mhm.
So you mentioned Mount Pleasant playing Columbia last night.
I'm shocked.
30,
Why would Columbia schedule that? I mean, I'm just kind of
That
surprised.
is, a couple of years ago, I believe Mount Pleasant's coach and had a brother that coached at Columbia. And that's just sort of.
When Vance Ballou was there, they had never played Mount Pleasant. Never.
And here we go again. Columbia playing Mount Pleasant would be like Shelbyville playing Community or Cascade.
Yes.
You can't win that game. You win the game, but you win it because you're supposed to
But if
win
somehow
it.
you lost it,
But if you
never
lost
did
it, then
Yeah.
so that's again, I don't know why.
And Mount Pleasant played with them last night.
Mount Pleasant's got athletes, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Could be a gate thing. Could be financial. Financial. I mean, when you talk about financial, you just look at money coming in, but they're not but 15 minutes down the road.
No, yeah.
So
I'm sure it was a good gate.
Well, that would be like Shelbyville playing Cascade or Community or even Webb having that county game. So that is a big gate. What else we got scoreboard wise?
Huntland, Community played Huntland in 2 weeks. Huntland got their first win last night. They beat Lookout Valley 28-7. Cannon County got beat by DeKalb County 55-7, and Franklin County pretty good whooping on Grundy County last night. Then when you look at Shelbyville's, what's coming up next on their schedule, Lebanon beat Lincoln County 38-0. Hendersonville lost to Ravenwood 27-10, and Ravenwood's got a pretty good team because they took Oakland close. We've already talked about Siegel and Warren County. Siegel beat Warren County 21-18.
Yeah.
So that was a good ball game. On Thursday night, Beach beat Summit 22-7. Summit's only won 1 game this year, so they're struggling a little bit after winning the state last year and
losing
those 2, but they weren't the only 2 that so and then Gallatin beat Cookville 58-29 last night. So
well, you got to look at that Warren County record and understand how they've lost some of their games and looked at it. They're a better team than their record indicates.
They're playing pretty good competition.
Yeah, they are.
They're playing pretty good competition.
And that's a team that Shelbyville's got to face. And then you look at Cookville, they've played they put some points on the board. You look, they lose. They put up 29 last night against Gallatin. So Shelbyville's region is a little bit better than I thought it was from top to bottom, because I felt like that we would be in fight for second or third, and we're gonna if we do that, we're going to have to beat 3 of these,
Right.
2 or 3 here.
And then when you look over at Webb, we talked about Webb early in the season. Here on every game Webb plays is a region game.
Yeah.
They played all their preseason's over now, and but I believe Grace Christian was a region game for them, and then they turn around and play Friendship Christian next week. Where Friendship Christian's pretty good.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that wraps up the high school end of things. Again, next week we've got Shelbyville taking on Lebanon at home. And we've mentioned the other teams that'll be in action. So everybody get out and support your local team. Give these boys the support they deserve. They're working hard. And we'll be back.
Working hard.
Yeah, they've got to. They're in Central's, of course, they're trying to put a game plan together to get some wins here. So
Right.
let's get out and support those guys.
I was gonna say we talked about last week. Shelbyville's at home this week with Lebanon. Community's at home this week with Sequatchie.
Right.
Cascade and Webb both go on the road. So let's get out. If we're Bedford County, let's make it.
We got 2 games to
We got two games to we can pick that.
All right, let's switch gears and go over to college. Everybody's eyes on one big game that's around here today, and that's, of course, Florida, Tennessee. In Knoxville. Kenny, what do you think about that game?
I don't think it'll be a whole lot of a game.
I don't either.
I really don't. I mean, Tennessee's offense is pretty good. Now their defense has got to be getting better, but I'm not really impressed with Florida's offense. The quarterback, he's a great athlete.
Great athlete.
Man.
He can run.
And it depends on him.
He's
gonna be the payload. If he has a good game, it could be tough.
I don't believe he has a touchdown pass this year. I believe I read that right.
But
4
here's the
interceptions,
thing.
no touchdown passes.
They're going to have to score because Tennessee's going to
Tennessee,
score.
They are
going to
for
score.
They're going to score.
Now, there is a player on defense because I was watching that South Florida, and really I thought the officiating had a lot to do with that too, or South Florida would probably won that ball game. That's here or there. But Florida had a kid, last name's Cox. It seems like they have a Cox kid for the last generations of Coxes down there.
Yeah.
This kid took that game over in the second
he
half.
did.
And he looked like an NFL player to
Yeah,
me.
he did.
He dominated.
The Florida
South Florida.
did have their best defensive player last week. I don't know. I just saw his number is 51, I believe it was. Didn't get to play. He may be back on the field today, but
I noticed something interesting in that game with South Florida. It seemed like all the way through the third quarter, both defenses were playing pretty good, but at the end, they started gashing each other. You could tell the defenses were gassed a little bit. Both of them.
I felt sorry for the quarterback for South Florida. How many
Oh, I know
times did he put that ball right there and they would just
Yeah.
drop it? And you're sitting there, that's got to be frustrating.
I'm gonna agree with y'all. I think Tennessee's gonna beat them
If
pretty
Tennessee
good.
doesn't do it now, they're never going to do it.
Yeah. This is a
no,
great
don't say
opportunity.
never long.
But I think they're going to do it convincingly.
I think it'll be
Auburn, Missouri.
you don't know nothing about Auburn.
I know one thing, that coach
Auburn.
needs a win bad or he's gone.
Auburn, well, I don't know if a win will help him.
I don't either.
I really don't. If I went out, I'd probably be late to Missouri.
Okay, I've got Auburn.
Bad vibe on Auburn to me. There's just a
Yeah, I
bad
just
vibe.
can't.
Something's not.
I'm gonna pick Auburn because I think they're gonna come back after.
They
getting
should win the
handled.
game.
That's what I think.
I would
it's
think
close.
they would, but
They
it's
got better
just,
players, better athletes. But that doesn't necessarily mean anything because the vibe I was seeing was not a good vibe.
Yeah. Texas A&M, Arkansas.
There's your ball game.
that's good.
In Jerry's world,
I
Cowboy
tell you what,
Stadium.
I think Arkansas is for real.
I do
am
too.
I got them picked 27-21 in that game.
And I'll tell you what, Mr. Fisher, they have a big contract. But if he were to, I'm telling you, I think Jimbo Fisher's in trouble.
Mississippi, Tulsa. That sounds like a Mississippi runaway. Alabama, Vanderbilt. Kenny.
I don't think it'll be a whole lot of games.
I got Alabama 37-10. That's what I'm looking
The
at.
line's 40 and a half.
Is it?
Uh,
I'd take Vanderbilt on that, but
yeah, that's a.
Vanderbilt lives and dies by the quarterback. How does he play?
I don't see them doing much.
I don't
on
no.
defense.
All right, Mississippi State, Bowling Green. I got Mississippi State, of course, running away with that. I'm sure y'all agree with that one.
Mhm.
Georgia over Kent State. Then we got Kentucky, Northern Illinois. Kentucky's in the top 10 now, right? They're
They're
in there.
playing well.
This is
done
a
good
game.
job.
This is a game that you got to watch close because Northern Illinois, you just never know.
They lost
I mean,
Vanderbilt last
Yeah,
week.
but you just never know. I think Kentucky handles that pretty easy.
I think he's an awfully good coach.
LSU, New Mexico. That looks like an easy win for LSU. What do y'all think?
I don't think LSU's got any.
I don't think anything's easy for LSU.
I don't know.
I don't think anything's going to be easy.
I'm
for them.
not. I haven't been impressed with their quarterback.
I thought Mississippi State should have beat LSU
Yeah.
last week.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Yeah, I
kinda
thought there
watching
was
now.
some questionable calls in that one that really affected that game.
I think Kelly has gotten his bell rung a little bit
Welcome to the SEC.
Welcome to the Southeastern
What's
Conference.
in the SEC?
Yeah.
You can play them one time a year or two times a year, but when you got to line up and come down here every week,
What do you think he's sitting there looking at that schedule? What are you saying to himself right now, Kenny?
I think he's looking at his bank account. More than he's
Because when he was at Notre Dame, let's face it, you played 3, maybe 4 games a year, and the rest of the time it was Air Force and that Navy.
I think they're going to beat New Mexico.
Yeah, I do too.
But I'll say this: I think New Mexico covers the line.
What's the line?
I think the line's like 30-something.
I got 34-20. I think,
I just think it's going to be closer.
All right.
LSU will win the game, but I don't think it's going to be the runaway by 30 points.
South Carolina, Charlotte. I think South Carolina beats them. But that's the SEC. But I think the 2 big games we got is the Arkansas A&M and the Tennessee Florida game. Everybody's eyes are going to be on those 2. But I believe I'm going to agree with you guys. I think Tennessee's going to pull it off. Pretty good. 2 touchdowns.
The job that's been done at Arkansas is pretty doggone amazing.
Yeah,
What Sam Pittman's done.
What I watched a little something on Arkansas and the way he coaches, the way you just got to want to play for him.
Yeah.
He is a positive. He is didn't seem, now this was made for TV, but he just one of those guys that, some people can talk to you and make you want to run through that wall, and some people can talk to you and make you want to run away from that wall. He's one of those guys that seem like when he's talking, you'll run against that wall and it might knock you down, but he's going to say something to you and you're going to get up and you're going to try to hit it again.
That's the football coach.
And there's a lot of people that look really high on him because we're just looking at the coaching job that he's done at Arkansas.
Right.
We don't realize what kind of assistant coach he was before he got that job. And the lines, if you go back and you look at his background,
He was at Tennessee under Lane Kiffin.
he had some pretty
Offensive line
good
coach.
offensive lines everywhere he's
been, and he's a good recruiter. But I think him and Coach Stoops at Kentucky do this. I think they're better than anybody at taking that 3-star guy that someone else missed and turning him into a 5-star guy. I think the guy at Kentucky, Stoops and Pittman, do an excellent job of that.
That characteristic that Kenny described will jump you up a level.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it makes you exceed what you're capable of.
It's just like I told my son when he started teaching, you can't make them learn. You can't make somebody learn.
Right.
What you have to do is you got to make them want to learn for you.
Mm-hmm.
You got to make them want, and I think that's where Pittman is. You got to make them want to do it.
Yeah.
You got to have them.
But what's happened to A&M? They had the number 1 recruiting class in the country. And boy, I'm looking out there and I'm going, I don't see it.
Here, this is Parkerism. I think it goes back. I think his press release when he had to Alabama, the way he went off on the coach and showed that other. I think players see into all that kind of stuff. We don't know if that's the way he coaches also or not. You high here, you high
Just
here.
like the Auburn we're talking about. I noticed bad vibes on that sideline at A&M.
Well, I think if you see it once, it's happening more than once.
Uh-huh.
Stuff like
But
that.
Here, a team full of good players don't win. Chemistry wins.
Yeah,
right.
What happens in the locker room has a whole lot to do with what happens on the playing field.
And that want to.
Yeah. Now, one thing I will say, Fisher, last week, he went into the game. I forget who they played last week. Was it Mississippi State? Who they played last week? And he suspended a few players because they broke
Miami,
curfew.
wasn't it?
It was Miami.
Miami.
He put some kids and didn't let them play because they broke. You got to do that, but don't. If you just suspend your second teamers and third teamers, you got to hold your Mr. A&M. You got to hold your bell cow to a higher standard.
Yeah.
And you can't. But that's where I think A&M is losing it right now. The newness of Fisher when he first got there, and all the hype and the glory and all of that was there early, but I believe it's now starting to wear off. A lot of the coaches that came in with him are not there anymore. So
I'll be honest with you.
I think a lot of that is wearing. And here's another thing: we always talk about their contracts. When you give somebody a 10-year contract, you got a long time you're gonna have to miss 3 or 4 year contracts. But when you give somebody a 10-year one, that's tough. And if I hope everything goes well for him, but if he's not got it going on, and when you're there, the big money people run the show. If you upset a few of them, the buyout clause for him now is.
Well, believe it or not, that's the buying MTSU sort of in too. You believe it or not, Coach Stockstill's got like a 10-year deal. They can't buy him out of it. They're kind of stuck on that.
Yeah, that's. I mean,
I don't know. A lot of people know that, but he's got an 8-10-year deal over there.
Well,
they're playing Miami today, by the way.
I was just kind of thinking about Fisher the other day. You and I had a conversation last week about him. He came in on the tail end of the Bowden era at Florida State.
Mm-hmm.
How long did it take him to mess that up? 5 years. It's gone. But he still won because he was living off that culture that was set up before.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's fixing to show up more and more here at A&M than it did there because he got out. I mean, they got.
Maybe Florida State will right the ship here with Norvell this year, because if they don't, you're going to see Neon Dion and FSU. It's coming. That's who they're going to hire. And look out then.
I'm not a Fisher fan.
I can't say that I am either, because of the way they carry themselves at times, and you can see that demeanor. I think Fisher is more of a me coach than a we coach.
Yeah.
It's all about
the opposite of Stoops.
He's not a Bear Bryant. He's not a Bobby Bowden. He's not a Nick Saban.
I don't think he's a Stoops or a Pittman.
No, he's not.
Maybe even a Josh Heupel, to be honest with you. But I think his job at Tennessee.
And I will say that big recruiting class, even though I don't like the way Coach Saban approached the press conference and say he bought them, I think that had a whole lot to do with, you look at the class that he signed in that, hey, let's get on the record, it was for real.
Yeah.
But how many of them jumped ship in the last 2 weeks that they weren't even talking about A&M until, boom, they are A&M, and can you hold on to them?
Yeah.
There's the transfer portal.
Yes.
Can you hold on to them?
We're going to talk about that one week. The transfer portal, just a
standalone
about it. It already has
changed it.
And it's
people are going to sit on the bench for 3 years away.
I just don't like it. Guys.
I don't know that I like it either, but I'll tell you, and I know a lot of people here don't like his name, but Lane Kiffin is eating that transfer.
Yeah, buddy.
That's where he's recruiting.
That's his recruiting base. He figured that out.
He had a shirt on last week at the game or at a press conference that come to us.
I'll just be honest with you, I like Lane Kiffin.
Well, I'm going to tell you, that's another guy, though, that can coach, and players play hard for Lane Kiffin.
Several years, I went to the Alabama coaching clinics.
Yeah.
And let's just Lane Kiffin was the offensive coordinator, and Kirby Smart was the defensive coordinator. And I had an opportunity to talk with both of them. What great people. And Kiffin is just so much fun to talk to.
I bet he is.
He is so much fun to talk to.
I think he at Tennessee, I think he was a little misunderstood after he left. I think more Tennessee people got to see who he was than when he was here. He wasn't here long enough. And there's a lot of people that in the back of their mind, they still want to not like him, but they like him because his dry sense of humor, that and
they know what they lost.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, what you lost. I mean, people that love their whatever, when it's taken away, and you don't have it anymore. I've always said this about coaching. When I had a kid graduate, I didn't know what I had till I didn't have him anymore.
Yeah.
And when I go into that next year and I ain't got Bill Anderson or I ain't got David Thomas, I'm going, man, I really miss those guys. Those guys. And Kiffin's one of those. I mean, Kiffin knows what he's doing.
Yeah. And last year in the Tennessee game, when those oranges were getting thrown all over the field and everything, one of them about hit him. Was it an orange or a ketchup ball? Mustard ball.
That and a golf ball.
Yeah. And he had it in his hand. But he was being playful about it. I mean, he wasn't. He was
Takes
laughing
the
about
pressure
it.
off his kids by putting it on himself.
Exactly.
He's the master of it.
That's what you got.
Yeah.
That's what you got. We talked about.
You're too busy watching Kiffin.
When
He's
you talk
running a
about
reverse on you scoring.
Yeah. When you're talking about Mississippi, you're not talking about a player. You're talking about him.
He's a showman.
And I'll tell you, how smart he is at Alabama. And you watch him at Ole Miss, he'll call a play, and right before they'll snap it, he'll go. Because he knows.
Yeah.
He knows. I mean, that's the way he is. He knows.
And Sam Pittman was Lane Kiffin's offensive line coach at Tennessee.
Well, guys, we can sit here and talk all day about stuff like this, but we got to wrap this up and get going. But guys, again, we've got 2 county teams playing at home this next week, and 2 away. So if you're able to get out and support these kids, they're working hard. The coaches are working hard. Everybody at all the county schools are working hard to play this game we all love. And thanks for joining us today. We'll be back next week with some more talk.